It's okay. Um, s- hey there. Good morning or afternoon for me. Might be evening for you. It's been a while. It's been about 8 days or like a week or so since my last upload. Depending on when you're seeing this, might have been more than a week. It actually is more than a week, but anyway, today we're gonna be continuing where we left off with a new topic, and it's gonna be about, or the title of the video is gonna be Neuroplastizität. Sorry if I sound tired. It's just been a long day a little bit for me, even though it looks like the sun just came up. It isn't. It's about late afternoon by now, and it's just that the sunshine has been so strong today, and it's blaring through the windows really. Today's topic, however, is going to be about neuroplasticity. In German, the term is die Neuroplastizität. And we're going to talk about quite a bit of things, so I hope this video isn't running for too long. Last time we had the trouble of not being able to see how long the video is because I was recording with the back camera. We've solved that problem now. I had to make sure I solved it because I didn't want to get carried away and, talk too much or ramble a little bit too much about one or two things and find myself going into 20 minutes like I was about to go to last time. Thankfully, made sure I wasn't. So yeah, sorry that my eye is starting to itch for some reason. It wasn't doing this at all when I was before recording. I just started happening right now. I'm gonna try to stop doing that. Yeah, so let's begin. I have things written down this time, like quite a few things are written down. If you see me looking this way, it's because I'm remembering what I need to write. So let's start off with the definition. Neuroplasticity is all about being able to adapt and talks about the cognitive function of the brain. And the first definition, which I always knew from a long time ago, was that neuroplasticity refers to the phenomenon in children which can describe how their brain structure and how the wrinkles of the cerebral cortex change so vividly when learning new information, when adapting to new things, and how to associate colors to how to associate colors to different things and information being associated with other information, how we learn so quickly as children and how that learning curve or how that speed goes down a little bit when we grow up because of how strong neuroplasticity is in children and how it slowly just becomes a little bit weaker when we become adults. So that was the first definition I knew about, and for up until a few months ago, that's the only definition I knew. I thought it only meant that, but actually I was sitting with a physiotherapist, or I was in the same room as one for a relative who needed treatment from a physiotherapist, and he gave me a second definition to it, which surprised me a lot. Neuroplasticity also refers to the phenomenon of a brain area, like let's say for example Broca's area or area 44 or whatever area you want to talk about, and its function changing, or not its function changing, but when a brain injury occurs where that specific area is affected, another area in the brain, somewhere else in the brain, can take that function and do it despite the other part of the brain which was responsible for the function originally being damaged or injured or affected, and it cannot perform the function. So another part of the brain does the function for it, which is incredible, which is absolutely incredible that can happen. Such an incredible piece of human adaptation to conditions, and it's going to be a leading metaphor, or quite the example that we're going to go by today, where it's incredible just how much our brain can do without us even realizing. Second thing is that, okay, well, that's the two definitions of neuroplasticity done. So with that, we're going to move away from that. The video is already 4 minutes long, so this is very worrying. This video, by the way, is going to be dedicated to a certain doctor who told me a story about who I mentioned the term neuroplasticity to, sorry. I mentioned neuroplasticity to him, and he talked about how he once had a patient who, in a car accident, a severe car accident, had quite a portion, if not all of his frontal lobe damaged and injured. And so this person was very aggressive, or not aggressive, but very loud and angry and rude, and did not really like to hold too many conversations where he was being friendly or whatnot. And he was already married before the car accident, which took off quite a bit of his frontal lobe off. And as we know, the frontal lobe is the main part of the brain which is associated with personality and emotions and decisions and all these sorts of things which are associated with the higher centers of the brain. And it all really is not that easy to explain even by scientists who should be studying this in neuroscience. But after the surgery, which had to be done, and after they applied titanium into his skull to fix up the bone injury and all the different types of things which you need to get fixed. Well, and I don't know as much about it as the neuroscientist or the neurosurgeon who I was talking to about this, who told me about this, but he came out of it completely different personality, very calm, very keen on having friendly, long conversations, and very not polite, but more friendly. So the story is dedicated, or this video is dedicated a lot to that doctor and how there is a patient who we are trying to help today, or around these few days, inshallah. Her surgery goes well, and yeah, inshallah all goes well. So this is the definition part and the dedicated part of the video gone. It's been 6 minutes. I'm gonna be looking closely at the clock just to make sure I'm not taking too much time. Let's get into the actual the meat, or the actual, the real, what we're here for. And today we're gonna be talking about, with respect to neuroplasticity, the techniques that you can use to learn and adapt quickly and in your studies and in your life. So we're going to talk about active recall, we're going to be talking about spaced repetition, we're going to be talking about the Feynman's technique, we're going to be talking about memory palace, and a few other things, a couple of other things other than that. So let's start off with active recall. Active recall and spaced repetition are basically the bread and butter of anyone who ever wanted to make a study guru video where they explain to you how to study better. And if you've ever watched one of those videos, then this is nothing new for you. Not even going to go into too much detail. Active recall is basically where you use flashcards or use some sort of read the question, cover the answer, and try to remember what the answer was, which you just read a few minutes ago, and take that to step or level 100, where you're basically trying to remember so many things at once. In fact, there's another technique which I forgot to write down on the ideas page, which I'm looking at it right now. There's another one that I've heard from other students, med students, and their videos where they explain how they used to study, which is called blurting. Sorry. Blurting is a technique which I didn't write down, but I just remembered on the spot right now while recording the video. It's a technique where you take a piece of paper, a blank one, and you think about a topic. And you think about all the information that's related to this topic. And you take a pen or whatever, and you just write down all the information that you know that's important about this topic into one paper. And then you look at the paper again after you're done with it, and you check with the textbook or resource which you're studying from, and you check what kind of information did I miss and forget and not write down here, and what did I learn from all that stuff which I associate with this one topic or word or whatever thing you're writing down about on this paper. And that's why it's called blurting, because it's all just, you're blurting it out. It's like you're just writing it and saying it how it comes to your head. No need for any order or organization. It's just writing down anything that comes to mind in whatever order you feel like writing it in, however it comes to you in your head when it comes to you. And you just check afterwards what you forgot to say or write on the paper, and you just remember to add that next time, and you could just do this once or twice more. And by rote memorization, you'll figure out how to scale all the ideas in this topic which you're writing about, or this word which you are describing, or this medical term, or this disease, or whatever, in a few sentences, or not a few sentences, but you're going to be able to organize yourself better and remember what goes what and what is where. And then the day of the exam, hopefully you'll be able to remember that this piece of information was right next to that piece of information, and you'll have a pretty good solid image about what you need to have. Oh, this video is now 9 minutes long. Let me need to speed up a bit. I'm sorry if this gets annoying where I'm every once in a while I'm looking at how much time I've gone through. I'm sorry, I'll try to stop doing that now. Sorry. So active recall, back to active recall, you make flashcards, which can be time consuming, and you review them every day, which can be even more time consuming, and you have to write down the question and the answer, and turn all the pieces of information in your syllabus into questions, and all the answers are going to be what is the missing part, or what is the which is obviously very time consuming, and it's very difficult to make if you're making them on your own. And it sometimes doesn't give you the best yield because sometimes people learn through reading and rereading and highlighting, and they don't learn so much from flipping through flashcards and going through them quickly. Even though Anki students or USMLE students swear by this technique and say that it's very helpful, if not necessary. I don't know. I wasn't really a flashcard kind of guy. Never was. I always just had my textbook or notebook, whatever I used to write in, and that was enough for me. Sorry. So that's active recall. Sorry. Now we're going to spaced repetition, which is, if this is active recall, this spaced repetition, they go hand in hand. Okay. This is making a comeback for the third time. It's not even a German word this time. It's just had to back to back to back. Okay, spaced repetition is about the idea where you go from learning a topic one day, and then you review it the next day, and then you wait 3 days, and then you review it again, and then a week goes by and you review it once more, and then 2 weeks go by and then you review it again, and then you keep on coming back to it at different intervals. And the reason behind this is the scientific basis of the forgetting curve, as they call it. I think that's what it's called, I'm not really sure. So the forgetting curve is where you could learn a piece of information one day, and then it would take about 2 days or 3 days until you forgot it. I don't talk about learning as in memorizing fully on one day and then you forget it after like 3 days. Maybe you can't even recall everything about it or anything about it in the next week or so, because of how you just left it after you learned it. So you learned it and then you forgot it. But what spaced repetition does is it tells you to revise the thing after a day, and after 3 days, and after a week, and after 2 weeks, and after a month, so that you can basically keep on recalling it to yourself, so that you force your brain to remember the information, and so that you don't forget it ultimately after a month or 2 months. So it stays with you. Even though you put so much effort into it the first time, you might forget about it after a week or after a month, because that's natural. Like, people, even out, this has happened to me where I've forgotten an entire syllabus, not just the topic. I've forgotten AS chemistry, and I had to not take that exam because I spent so much time focusing on other subjects at the time, and I had to drop that subject and not take its exam because I forgot to study for it, forgot to review it. That syllabus was in my pocket. It was really easy and I knew what to do. I just forgot to, or I didn't make the time for it. And it was before I learned about all these different things and how I should be revising what I take, and not, even if you're in the same syllabus, if you're at the start of the syllabus and then you progress further and you're at the end of the year or at the end of the term or whatever you're in, and you go back to the first chapter or the first lesson, you look at it and it's like it's completely new to you because you've forgotten to revise it and you didn't bother reviewing what you learned over the weeks or over the months. So active recall and spaced repetition go hand in hand, and I think you can imagine how this works. You take flashcards, a bunch of flashcards or whatever you want to revise it with for active recall, where you just cover the answers and where you flip the thing, the flashcard, and you keep on doing it every few days. And the things you get wrong, the next time you revise are going to be the things which you see more often. And there are apps for that which are like really strong for students who use this technique, where it uses an algorithm to see which stuff you get wrong. And yeah. On to the next thing. Not gonna describe or not gonna mention how much time we've taken because you can see it for yourself. But on to the next thing. Sorry, is Feynman's technique. The Feynman's technique now. This is one of the stronger ones actually, and this is about teaching a topic to yourself as if you were a 5-year-old. So using very simple words, using layman's terms, as they say, where you just explain as if you're explaining to someone on the street, and you take some like a teddy bear or a doll, and you just sit it in front of you, or you take a bottle of water, okay, and you just talk to it, and you're like, okay, here's what oxidative phosphorylation is about, here's what cellular respiration does, or here's what the mitochondria functions for, and whatever. You can talk about anything to this water bottle or this teddy bear, or this, maybe you have a younger brother or sister, and you can just tell them about what you're learning, and they'll obviously won't understand all these scientific terms, so naturally you're gonna have to dumb it down to them enough so that they can understand it easily. So that's Feynman's technique, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And the idea about this technique is that the moment you realize that there's something you can't explain, as if you're explaining it to a 5-year-old, is where you realize you have a gap, or you have some weakness in your learning, and that's where you have to strengthen yourself. But some people, especially me back in the day when I was still in year 12, would think, oh, but I have to mention the keywords, I have to mention the scientific terms or whatever. And to that, now I say, with all my more experience after being in medical school for a good long while, halfway done with it, alhamdulillah, I'd say just explain the key terms, just explain the keywords in your own words, and just mention them. But remember that even scientists and doctors, when they explain very important topics to society and try to make people understand how a disease works, like for example, let's say atherosclerosis, they'll call LDL cholesterol and HDL cholesterol the bad type and the good type of cholesterol, respectively, because good cholesterol is different from bad cholesterol, where HDL is important for taking away deposited cholesterol from the blood tissue and taking them back to the liver so that they can be broken down, whereas LDL cholesterol is the bad cholesterol because it becomes deposited in the blood vessels and leads to plaque, and deposition leads to atheroma formation and plaque formation. So it's quite important even for doctors at very high levels to be able to explain this stuff to people who aren't studying medicine, or people who have no idea what atherosclerosis is, or what cholesterol deposition and what calcium and fiber deposition is, or fibrosis, is. So yeah, that's another thing, Feynman's technique, very helpful. And this is one that I really, really care about, and spaced repetition as well. Not so much active recall for me personally. Maybe for you, you could think active recall is your strongest suit, your strongest weapon in your arsenal, as they might say. Let's move on. Hey there, hello. As you might have noticed, the video just ended right now if you're watching it to the end, and it feels a little bit incomplete. That's because it's not the full video. It's actually only part 1 of the video, the first half. It was a really long topic and discussion. I'm recording this 2 days later, actually. This where I'm talking to you right now. So this is post-production me from the future telling you that there's also a second half to this video, interestingly enough. And we're not even half done with, or we're half done with the topics which I want to talk about. So stay tuned, and thank you so much for watching and supporting and liking and sharing and subscribing if you're doing all that. Yeah, the video would have been too long if it was all just in its entirety in one shot. Would have been about 35 minutes long, but thankfully I thought of the idea of splitting into 2, and it worked out for me. I mean, if you're watching the video, then it means it worked out, and if you're watching the second video after this one, then it would have definitely worked out. Yeah, so this is gonna be part 1, and sorry, I'm reading from just something I wrote down here. And yeah, after part 2 of this video, sorry about that. So next video, or next thing uploaded on my channel, is gonna be part 2 of this video, Neuroplastizität. Die Neuroplastizität Teil 2. I guess we're gonna call it that. So this is gonna be Teil 1, next one's gonna be Teil 2, okay? Very good incorporation of German right there. Sorry about the noise. Yeah, and then after Teil 2, part 2, we're gonna talk about an episode called Trauma und unsere Emotionen. I thought I'd include this now, since I'm probably not gonna record this thing for the second video. And it's gonna be all about so whether or not you can handle adapting and all these kind of different things like homesickness and all these phenomenons which happen to medical students, like the syndrome where you keep diagnosing yourself with different things because you're learning about medicine for the first time, and you're seeing all these diseases, so you wanna... Anyway, so that's for another day. I also wanted to end this off with a quote, and it was something I thought about, or something I heard from someone saying, but I can't remember who it was. It was an actor or someone, a celebrity on a red carpet thing. He talked about how even if the sun stops shining, or even if you close off the window, or you're not, or there isn't a plant or grass to receive sunlight, the sun will still shine, and you will still be there, or whatever is happening will still happen, even if you are not there, or even if you keep working on and you keep loving a person, or you keep trying your best at something, you're still gonna be alive, and you're still gonna be the winner, even if you get heartbroken, or if you fail, or if whatever happens to you isn't the consequence or isn't the result you expected, because even then you're still alive and you're still living, because the sun always shines even if the grass or the plant isn't there to receive its sunlight. So yeah, have a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in part 2 or Teil 2. Okay, stay tuned. Thank you so much. Tschüss. Bye bye.